The night had fallen over the glittering skyline of Manhattan, painting the city in golden shadow. Inside Luna Bistro, the scent of roasted garlic and truffle butter filled the air, mingling with the soft jazz echoing from the corner stage. It was just another ordinary night for Elena Rivera, a 26-year-old waitress who'd long ago learned how to smile through exhaustion. Her shoes pinched, her hair was coming undone, but her service was flawless. It had to be, because behind that polite smile was a woman barely holding her world together. Her mother's medical bills were mounting, her younger brother's college dreams depended on her tips, and her own ambitions, studying linguistics, had been buried under a pile of unpaid rent notices. Still, Elena served every table with the quiet grace of someone who refused to break. But that night fate decided to test her courage in a way no one could have imagined. CTA for 1C, if you're hooked already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Exposed Tales. Because what happens next will leave you speechless. At table 7 sat Nicholas Grant, a billionaire CEO in his early 40s, sharp suit, sharp mind, and a sharper temper. The world knew him as the genius behind Grant Tech Global, a company leading in AI and international communications. He was the kind of man who could buy a skyscraper with a single call, yet tonight he seemed restless. His phone buzzed repeatedly beside his untouched glass of Merlot, and every time he ignored it. He was waiting for an international deal to close, a deal that could expand his empire into Asia. His team had flown to Tokyo to finalize the details with a multi-billion-dollar Japanese corporation, but just as the deal was about to be sealed, something went wrong. The translator had fallen ill, the interpreter on video call froze mid-sentence, and the company was minutes away from pulling out. Nicholas had stepped out of a board meeting, trying to find a quiet place to think, when he stopped by Luna Bistro, his safe haven, to clear his head. Elena didn't know who he was at first. She only noticed the tension in his eyes, the kind of pain that no amount of money could hide. When she approached his table, she did what she always did, offered warmth. "Rough night?" she asked softly, setting down a refill of his wine. He gave a tired smirk. "You could say that." That's when his phone buzzed again, louder this time. He sighed, picked it up, and frowned at the caller ID. "Tokyo office. You are gent." He hesitated. The entire deal depended on that call, but the communication barrier was already tearing things apart. "Excuse me," he muttered, stepping aside to answer. Elena turned to serve another table when she heard him curse under his breath. "What do you mean they don't understand the clause?" "No, that's not what it means." "Wait, hello?" His voice rose with panic. "They're hanging up." No, don't, damn it." The call had dropped. When it rang again, Nicholas pressed the phone to his ear, pacing like a storm. "Listen, get me someone who can speak Japanese, now," he barked. Elena froze mid-step. Her heart raced. She could speak Japanese fluently. For years she had studied languages online, English, Spanish, Japanese, and a little French, dreaming of becoming a professional interpreter one day. But life hadn't allowed her to chase that dream. Her instincts warred with her fears. What if she spoke up and embarrassed herself? What if she misunderstood something? But when she saw the desperation in Nicholas's eyes, something inside her whispered, "Do it." "Sir," she said, hesitating, "I can help. I speak Japanese." Nicholas turned, disbelief flashing across his face. "You what?" "I studied linguistics," she stammered. "I'm not certified, but I can try." He hesitated for a fraction of a second, and then, out of sheer desperation, handed her the phone. "Fine. If you can save this deal, I'll owe you one." Elena took a deep breath, pressed the phone to her ear, and began speaking, her voice calm, fluid, and precise. Water. Her words flowed like water. The executives on the other end paused, surprised but intrigued. For the next 20 minutes she translated, negotiated, and clarified every point with poise and cultural understanding. She even caught a misinterpretation in the contract that could have cost Grant Tech millions. Nicholas stood frozen, watching her. This waitress in a faded uniform, commanding an international business call like a seasoned diplomat. His shock slowly turned to awe. When she finally hung up, the Japanese client's tone had shifted completely, from distrust to respect. The deal was saved. Elena handed him the phone, her hands trembling slightly. They've agreed to sign. They just needed reassurance about the partnership terms. Nicholas stared at her, speechless. For the first time in years, the billionaire who always had the last word couldn't find one. "You just saved a $200 million deal," he said quietly, "and you did it in a waitress uniform." Elena blushed, unsure how to respond. "I was just doing what I could." "Doing what you could," he repeated softly. "Just changed my company's future." That night, as Luna Bistro emptied out, Nicholas stayed behind. He asked about her life, her dreams, her family. By the end of their conversation, he wasn't looking at her like a waitress anymore. He was looking at her like the future. 2 days later, Elena received an email that changed her life. Grant Tech Global, interpreter internship offer. Nicholas had created a position for her personally. Paid, flexible, and full of opportunity. When she walked into the towering glass building on her first day, she felt the weight of every struggle that had led her there. Every night of exhaustion, every ignored dream. It had all led to that phone call. Nicholas greeted her with the same respectful tone he used with his top executives. "Welcome aboard, Miss Rivera," he said with a smile. "Let's make the world a little smaller together." And in that moment, Elena realized something profound. You don't need to be in a powerful position to make a powerful impact. Sometimes, all it takes is courage in the right moment and a voice that refuses to stay silent. CTA2, before we wrap up, if this story inspired you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Exposed Tales, your home for stories that reveal the power hidden in ordinary lives. Years later, when Elena became Grant Tech's head of international communications, she often looked back on that night. The night she answered a phone call she wasn't supposed to, and in doing so, answered her destiny. And somewhere in that same bistro, a new waitress smiled through her own exhaustion, unaware that sometimes, fate dials your number when you least expect it. Message: this story reminds us that no act of courage goes unnoticed. No skill, no matter how hidden, is ever wasted. Sometimes the smallest decision, like answering a phone, can change the entire course of your life.